Hi everybody, my name is Vicki with Get Messy and I am the art instructor here, and I'm going to be showing you how to paint this beautiful little whale. So I'm going to paint along with you. So I'm going to take down this canvas and put up a new one. Alright, so when we paint, I like to get a few different sizes. I have a large one for the background, one that I can kind of use for detailing, and another one kind of a different size. And I always tell people the very first thing that we do is wet our brush. So you can just leave your brushes in there if you like, and then you're going to rub off any extra water, dab it onto your paper towel, because we only want a damp brush, not a wet one. If we have a wet brush, the paint is going to drip and we don't want that. So I'm going to start with black. I'll put some black here on my palette. And what this is going to be for is the black of the sky. Alright? So I want you to do a really thin coat of black first, and then we're going to wait for it to dry, and then we're going to go back in and do a second coat. So the trick is to get some on your paintbrush and go strictly from one side right to the other. Even if you run out of paint, flip your brush and go like this, from one side to the other, because if you lift up your brush halfway through, you're going to get a brush line. So all the way over, all the way back. Don't forget as well to do your sides, the top, and the bottom. So I'm just going to do my top part here. Make sure. There we go. And just make my way down the sides. Doesn't have to be, super good, because we are going to do a second coat. We just want that first coat to be on there. So what I want you to do is determine whereabouts you want your sky to stop. And mine is going to stop about right here. And it doesn't matter if it's not a perfect line. As you can see, mine is not. But I want to leave enough room for the whale. So I think around about right here, I'm going as straight as I can. Filling in those sides. Let's flip it around, make sure I got this side. See what I missed? It's just because it's backwards. That's okay. There we go. So as you can see, I have filled in the sides to match the top. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some navy, but I'm not going to rinse out any of that black that's in my brush, and I'll explain why. I will also tell you, if you find throughout this video that I might be going a little too fast or a little too slow, or either way, just remember that you can pause this video at any time. So if you needed to catch up, or you want to go and get a glass of water or something like that. So with the black still on my brush, I put blue at the tip. You can see that. Now I'm going to determine where my line is going to be, and I'm going to come straight across as close to as I can. So I'll show you close up here now, that you could see the bits of the blue. I know it's kind of hard. There we go. Can you see that it's like a dark navy? So if I come in again with the blue, there we go. And what I want to do is come all the way down to the very bottom with that little bit of black, but lots of blue. So little black, lots of blue. There we go. And I'll come all the way down to the bottom. It's going to seem like it's pretty much one color, but if you really look there, you can see the blue that's different. So you can see blue here and black up here. So I'm not adding any more black to my brush, I just keep adding the blue. So whatever is left in the brush that is black is going to darken or deepen that navy blue color. And again, I'm going side to side. And again, this is only our first coat. So I'm going to come along the sides here, make sure I have them filled in as well. Only adding the navy, not the black. There we go. And of course I'm going to flip it around here a little bit so I can get this side. You can see here now, see the shine of it. You can see the shine of the blue. And I'm just coming down here just to make sure I have it all done. Perfect. And I'm just smoothing out any lines. Okay. So there we go. There's my water in the way. I'm going to move over here a little bit. There we go. So as it's kind of still a little bit wet, I'm going to take some white. And I'm going to put some white into one side. And with the sides of my brush, I'm going to dab a little bit of white. But as you can see here, if I dab it, it's not much. And what this is going to do is create definition. So I'm going to come right along here where my sky meets my water, like this, and start blending down. So the trick is not to blend over too much, just enough, because we still want to see some of these lines in here. So if you can see, I know the shine kind of. Can you see that? So now I might want to go in with just the white, maybe make a few waves across, and I'm just making my way down to the bottom like that. Then I'm going to go in with just the navy, and I'm going to pull that across. So see how I'm not having that bright white, but I am getting a blend. So remember, if we're blending, we don't want to blend too much. We'll create a new color. And we don't want to create a new color. We want to see the differences in those colors that we have. So this is where you can kind of play around a little bit and see where you might want some waves or motions to go across, like so. I'm going to see if I can bring this up anymore without it tipping over and having a glare. There we go. So now what I'm going to do, see how I just went one quick swipe over, just like that. All right. So it looks like my top is pretty dry now, so I'm going to wash out my brush. Really, really good. Take any extra off and wipe it in the paper towel. And I'm going to go in with just black because I want to deepen this up here. You're really going to want to have 2 coats, remembering to make sure it's dry in between. If we don't make sure it's dry in between, you're going to pick up the wet paint underneath and you'll always have a spot that's very hard to cover. So as you can see, yep, that looks pretty good to me. Looks nice and deep black. That's what we want, right? A nice deep black. Just see a couple of spots here that I'd like to cover. All right. So for the next part, we do have to kind of wait for it to dry a little bit. So I'm going to pause the video here, but that's okay. I'm going to come right back once I'm dry. And again, you guys make sure yours is completely dry, because like I said before, if we don't make sure it's completely dry, we'll have some issues in the end. Sorry. It's when you look at it at a different perspective, and I'm looking at it through here, it felt like it needed a little extra. Okay, so we're going to take a little pause break here now, wait for it to dry, and then I'll come back to you in a minute and get yourself a drink. All right, we're back again. So mine's looking kind of dry here now, so I'm going to attempt to do my iceberg. Again, if it's not completely dry and you put white over a dark color, you're going to pull that dark color through. However, sometimes that can help you. So with that, I'm going to use my roundish kind of brush here, and I'm going to dip into the white. And this part is pretty super easy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to determine where I want my iceberg to be just by following this line like this. I think I might want it a little bit longer, like this. So this is just a guideline. How we paint is we layer things. So right now we just want the shape of our iceberg. We will figure out the depth of the iceberg after. So in doing this, now what I'm going to do is, with a fair amount of paint on my brush, I'm going to pick this corner here, and I'm just going to start pulling it. See how I'm like dabbing and pulling at the same time? Again, I'm not too worried if I do have a bit of black in there, because we can use that as a shadow later. But if I'm pulling black, I'm just going to rinse out my brush so that I don't go in again, because then we'll do a gray. So you can make your iceberg as big or as little as you need. So again, if you're pulling the dark, it's okay. Black is a very tricky color to deal with, but when you learn kind of how it works, it could work to your benefit. So I think I'm going to do maybe a peak up here, like that. Maybe make it a little more 3D down this way. And then basically all I'm going to do is just start, see how I'm pulling up in random directions? And I'm just going straight across. That's the shape that I like. Again, if I'm finding it's too gray, I'm just going to clean my brush and go in with just the white. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. All we're doing is filling this in. And again, that's our first coat, so we don't need to worry too much about how it looks. Now I'm going to extend out here a little bit. There we go. So now I have a general shape of my iceberg. So what I want you to do now for the whale, if you have a pencil and you feel comfortable using your pencil to draw out the whale, you can. I am not. A paintbrush is actually more a pencil for me than a pencil is. So I will show you, and you can actually follow along. Another easy way is if you had a whale template. You could use that and outline a whale on there beforehand, or you can do it right on over the top of our water that we've already done. So what I'm going to do for this is, and I'll explain as I go, I'm going to put some white in the middle of my palette, or whatever you're using here. I have my white here, but I know I'm going to need a fair bit, so I'm going to put a lot of white there, like that. And then I'm going to dip into the blue, and not much blue at all. I want a really nice lighter blue. So see how this is like a baby blue or a powder blue? right? So I'm going to take this, and this is what I'm going to use as a guide to my whale. So one thing I will tell you, and I'll explain with this one, when we are doing a specific size, so I don't want this whale to be much bigger than this, so when we do that, it's better off that we start inside, work our way out. If we just try and draw an outline, it might end up too big, and too big is too hard to fix. So always start smaller and work your way to bigger. Keep in mind, I'm trying to do this opposite and through here. So you want the tip of the whale's nose to be up kind of close to touching. And what I'm going to do, come down like this, come down like this, still using that light blue. So this one I'm going to kind of curve out a little more, like so. Again, if you feel comfortable using a pencil and drawing it out, that's fine too. But if you could see kind of my plan here, I'm going to fill all that in. This is going to be the whale's head. There we go. Now I am going to turn it towards me just for a second, just because my perspective is very off here right now. So I'm going to shape him like this, and then like this. All right. And then I'm going to follow this line. He's kind of chubbier out here, and he's going to curve in like so. So can you see that he's starting to come to shape? And again, we just want a guideline so that we know where our whale is going to be. If we need to make him bigger, we absolutely can. Remember, it's better to be able to make it bigger than making it too big and then we're trying to make it a little bit smaller. So I do know that this little side of him needs to go a little wider. Like this. And come down. There we go. So now I'm just going for my shape, right? So if this tail's going to come out here and up, I'm going to have to pick this up and put it on top here so you can see. And this tail might go out here a little more and up. Here we go, he's starting to come to life. He doesn't look like much now, but he will. The reason why I do the light blue is to make it easier for us to see. So he also has a fin. And the fin is just going to go like so. Now we're not going to put his front arms on yet because we do have to do the white part of his body. So I'm just going to kind of play around with this here, see what kind of whale tail shapes I can do. Then I'm going to make sure that he's kind of dry. And again, we don't have to worry about too much because we'll be able to fix anything that we think we've made a mistake on anyway. So again, I'm going to pause this video for a few seconds, just long enough for this to dry and the iceberg to dry, so that way I can come in and finish my second, possibly third layer. All right, so it looks like I'm dry there now. So with fresh white and a clean brush, while I was waiting, I went and changed out my water, so I had nice clean water. So now I'm going to dip into the white with a fair amount of white on my brush. And I'm going to do the same thing I did in the first place. So what I like to do is come up along first, like so. So I am still pulling a little bit of that black, but again, that's okay, because it's going to create depth in your iceberg. And I'm just following along, like so. You see how I'm pushing that paint? So I'm placing my brush, and then I'm circling, but I'm also pushing so that the paint will go where I need it to go. And then this way, we're gonna there we go. So now I'm getting there with my iceberg. Remember, it's all about the layering. And now I'm going to go through, and with white, this is going to be the front of my whale. So I'm going to come in and make this a nice fresh white, about halfway through. Again, by the look of it, I'm pulling still a little bit of the other color, but that's okay. And I am going to turn this just so I can get a better line myself. Okay. So now you can see all here. Is going to be white, and again we can fix that up after. So remember that light blue we mixed? We're going to mix another color, but I want it to be a little bit darker, but not as dark as the navy. So this is my color, and I'll show you. So this was the color we made. This is the color I'm going to use. And this is going to follow the whale's blue. So I'm going to start up here about halfway. I'm going to come along here until I meet that white part, and then I'm going to pull. Same thing on this side, and I'm going to pull. And what we basically want, again, it's all about the layering. So this time I'm going to go in, didn't wash my brush, but I'm going to go in with just the navy, and I'm going to pull that down. And you can see I'm pulling in the direction of the whale. So if I'm going across, this whale's not going to look very good, right? So you want to follow the lines of the whale. So again, I'm following those lines down. Remember to take your time. There's no rush. Art should not be rushed. Even if you get so much of this video done and you want to pause and go back to it another day, you can do that too. Remember, drying is very important. We really want to make sure things are dry. He's starting to come alive a little bit. See? And you can see here, it's very similar. So we're getting to that point. We're getting to that point. I'm going to also fill in his tail here by pulling upward so that it meets with the rest. And I'm trying to get as close to the back here as I can. And I'm going to do the same thing on this tail. There we go. All right. So see, he's starting to come to life. So kind of as he's drying, just going to pull some of that through. There we go. So as he's kind of drying here, I'm going to clean off my brush. And with just the navy, I'm going to fill in his fin. And that's just with the blue. We want that fin to be slightly darker, like so, like that. See, he's getting there, getting close. Okay, so I'm going to rinse out my brush really good. And I'm actually going to go into this light blue again, like a really nice light blue. And I'm going to come in and do the iceberg again. Remember how I said we're going to have to layer? It's all about layering. So now I'm trying to put a little bit of blue in around in there too, so that the blue kind of sticks out. You can go back to using just the navy as well. And kind of pinpoint where there would be, say, a shadow or a highlight. And if anybody's not sure about that, a shadow is dark where the shadow would be, and a highlight is light where the sun would hit, or your light source, whatever your light source is. So I'm going to fix up this one little part here, but I have to turn. Just want to straighten my line a bit. There we go. Okay. So now we really need to make sure that it's dry. So we're going to pause here for a few minutes, and I'm going to make sure it's really, really dry this time, and I'll come right back to you. All right. So mine looks really dry there now. So I'm going to go in with a clean brush again. This time I'm going to go in with some blue, just the navy blue, and I'm going to define this line a little bit better. So what I like to do is get close to the line, go slowly. If you run out of paint, just flip your brush and go slowly. So now see how I'm going to pull that down. So can you see it's starting to get some definition there? So we're going to follow this down like this. I'm going to pull down here where it should be a little darker, like so. So I'm going to turn this a little bit just because I can see this little white area and I can't really get a good angle. So now what we want to do is we actually want to see some stripes. So I'm going to dip a little bit into my white and a little bit into the blue at the same time. And I'm going to start here at the top, but pull all the way to the bottom. And what you're going to do is keep doing this until you get the desired shape and color that you want. So if I want the back of here to be a little bit darker, I can do this. Bring that up into the tail, like so. There we go. So look at that nice blending we have going on here. I might get some of this light blue, because remember we have a few different colors now mixed on our palette. But we don't want to blend them too much, because we're just going to create a new color, which is not what we want. So now I'm going to go in a little bit of white, and I mean just a little bit. I have, if you can see that, I've flattened out my brush so that I have just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is kind of outline this fin with some white. But then I'm going to go in with just the dark blue. And when I do this, it's going to, see how the more I kind of blend it around, it kind of blends in there a little bit more. So maybe this fin needs to be a little, you're just following that brush up. So I'm just going to tidy up this little line here a bit. There we go, he's starting to come along. So I'm going to put him a little bit closer to you there. See how I'm getting all those nice pretty colors. So now I want to see some streaks. So I'm going in with the blue, flattening out my brush, going up like this, like this, like so. All right, so he's pretty much ready there. The only thing now that we have to add on are his flippers, and I'm going to use the lighter blue for that. And on this side, it kind of comes out from here and goes in. And you're just going to fill that in. Okay? Then the other one comes from this side, and it's going to go down and be a little bit bigger, like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with the blue, but I want to be able to see what begins and what ends. So I might go in with a little bit of the blue, darker blue here, some of the darker blue in here, and he's really coming together here. Yeah, I'm liking how he's looking. And I'm just playing with it a little bit here until I get it how I want. Remember, one thing I always preach is that it's your painting and nobody else's. So you do yours how you want yours to look. I am only here as a guideline to point you in the right direction as to what you need to do. Okay, so our whale is done. Now we're going to go up and I'm going to just play around with some of this blue that's left on my brush. Go a little bit darker on one side. Now I'm going to really rinse out my brush really good. Go into just the white. And now I'm going to create some actual iceberg. You can see how now it's coming together. It's all about layering and adding texture. And texture is what's going to make it look a little more 3D. So if you can watch my brush, I am just randomly letting the brush go where it wants to go. Now up here I'm going to make sure I hit the right places, because just like that. And some up here. Oh, I want to make this part a little bit bigger. And just play around with it. See what you can do. I mean, everybody has their own kind of ways of doing things or painting. And again, if it's starting to get a little bit dark and you want to fix it up a little bit, just wait for it to dry. And then you can do it again. So there we go. So I'm happy with how my iceberg looks. It's a few different colors. You see that a little bit there. Again, if you want to go in with some white, you can. So now I have this brush, and this is kind of a flatter brush. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add just the navy blue, and I'm going to straighten up the line where the ocean meets the iceberg. And you can go up over a little bit. Same with over here. I'm going to follow that line. So now see, I am pulling some of that white, which is totally fine, because that's going to give it some definition on this side. Can you see that? There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to come across the whale a little bit, because right now he doesn't look like he's in the water, but he looks like he's on top of the water. So going back and forth between your blues that you have mixed and white, I'm going to use this flat brush here now, and I'm going to get close to like this and start making it look like there's waves closer to the iceberg. And yes, I do talk to myself even when I'm painting by myself. I'm going to go just some white here. And if you just kind of play it up and switch it up, it will definitely benefit. There we go. And I'm just doing a little bit down like that, as you can see. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to very lightly, you don't need to push hard, I'm going to dry brush right across this guy. So I'm going to go like this. So see, now he's right over. I'm going to go in here, over here, 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 here. So wherever, just randomly make these little lines that go down like that. Okay, I'm going to rinse out my brush, and now I'm going to go in with just the blue. And what this is going to do is it's going to mute that white color that we were using, so it's not so bright. As you can see, some of these are kind of maybe too bright, but if I pull it, I'm going to pull. So if you just watch here with this one, see, I pull that starky white out by going lightly over the top. So I'm just going lightly wherever you think there might be some ripples. You can also go back in like this, like so, and do a little bit of that. So I'm going to let this pause for a second, and I'll be right back. And sorry about that. Of course, the doorbell would ring right as we're painting, but that's okay. So now it's starting to come along. I'm going to turn it a little bit here. As I look into my camera, I can also see lines that might be a little too bright, maybe. So I'm going to pull in a few. So he's starting to look more like he's underground, or under the water, sorry. And again, we're going to do some of those blues. And you're just going to pull right across all the way down. I'll hold this up closer. See how we're getting that effect now that he's under the water? So I'm happy with the iceberg. I am happy with the whale, although I think I'd like a little more white up in my iceberg. So I'm going to create some extra shelves. I think that they would kind of be called, but like little areas of rest there, I guess. And go in. There we go, that looks much better. So the last step that we're going to do now for our whale is we're going to make stars in the sky. And this part is really easy. We're going to use the back of our brush. The only thing is we don't want it to look like snow, unless you want it to look like snow. It could be a snowy night on the ocean, but I want mine to just kind of look like stars. So I'm going to dip into my white, and you're just going to go like this. So I do about 4 or 5, because then you get different sizes, and then I go back in 2, 3, 4, and if you can see that they do get a little bit smaller each time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can probably do like maybe a little cluster here, maybe some that go around. Maybe I might pick this one and do a little trail. So this one is kind of super easy. Again, if you wanted to use a whale template to make it easier, you can. Like I've said, my paintbrush, it tends to be more of my pencil than a pencil. I paint draw, I guess you could say, more so than painting. Look, I'm going to make the little dipper right there. I think I'm missing something over here. There we go. So the very last thing, of course, that we all have to do at the end is just make sure you sign your name to the bottom. And it's a good idea to throw the year in there as well, because it's kind of like a memory of the time that you painted the whale. So feel free to do yours however you want to do it. You can make your whale darker, you can make it lighter, you can add in a couple of more lighter streaks. So right now, if I add a little bit of white, see how my brush is flat? I'm going to use the side of it. So if I felt like adding in maybe a little bit of white here, I could even go like this with my fingers and pull it down and blend it in. If I wanted to have it a little bit brighter on this side, I can do this, like so. If you want it to be a little bit darker on his belly, then you can go and make it a bit darker down here. Another little tidbit, if you want to really kind of adventure, is add a bit of black into your blue, not a whole lot. And then the areas that could kind of be a little bit darker can go like that. Perhaps underneath where his fin would be could be a little bit darker. That adds in a little bit of depth like that. Maybe the bottom part of his fin is probably a little shadowed like that. And these are all the little things that are going to make yours pop. So adding highlights and shadows are the trick. So as you can see here, I'm just darkening up the bottom. Just because the deeper you go, right? The darker it gets. But I'm going to add in some of that blue, like so. Or sorry, that was like a white. I think I need just a little white here. There we go. Now I'm also going to extend this line back over here that I had accidentally painted over. And I'm thinking right here could go a little bit darker. But other than that, then we're done. So I hope everybody had lots of fun with me, and there is a lot more of these videos on here as well. So you can always have a little peek and see what we got on here. Could be anything. There we go. So I've got his whale there, or his fin done a little bit darker, like that. His belly line. And you know what? You'll probably fiddle with it for a long time till you get it how you want it. And that's okay. Painting should take a very long time. Just because I'm finished here does not mean you have to be finished, right? I'll go up like that to highlight. And I think I'm going to highlight a little up here as well. So it's going to go like that. There we go. So I'm going to highlight a little bit here and a little bit here. There we go. Look, what a handsome, cute whale that is. All right, I have to fix one line across here. Whoop, like that. And maybe one that goes here. I think he's doing pretty good here. I think we've definitely made him look like he's underwater, hey? And there we go. So again, I'm super happy how this came out. I'm really excited. If you guys want to send us a message to show us any of yours that you've done, feel free. One thing I do want to add here while I'm sitting here is probably a whale eye. However, I'm not 100% sure where it would be. Probably right there. All right, so I hope you had fun with us at Get Messy. I hope your paintings turned out great. And again, if you want to show us, feel free to show us. Send it to through our Facebook page if you like. And our most important rule here at Get Messy is to have fun. So as long as you're having fun, everything is perfect. So I hope you have a happy Friday and enjoy, and check out any of our other stuff. Thank you so much. Bye.